better believe that you're going to be doing hard time here the rest of your life. You won't break me.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars and welcome to another classic Stallone review. Today I'm taking a look at the 1989 thriller Lock Up. The film is directed by John Flynn and it stars Sylvester Stallone, Donald Sutherland, John Amos, Sonny Landham and Tom Sizemore. Right, this follows Stallone's character, Frank Leone, who is a prisoner and he's in, a fairly loose prison. He gets on with everybody. He's a model prisoner, no problems at all. He's happily doing his time. He's got a sweetheart on the outside, Melissa, played by Darlene Flugel, that's waiting for him. And then, not long before his release, really, he gets taken in the middle of the night and transferred to another prison, a very, very brutal prison. And he is faced with a previous warden Drumgoole, played by Donald Sutherland, who has got a history with Stallone's character, and he intends on making his life a living hell for the time he's got left. Stallone swears he's not going to break, he's going to kind of hang on till his time's up, but it gets increasingly more difficult for him not to react. As the warden is making right on his promise and making his life a living hell. And the guards too. Right, what are my thoughts on Lock Up? Well, I think this is personally one of Stallone's most underrated films. I remember when this came out and, it kind of flew under everybody's radar in a sense of... everyone was expecting every Stallone film at this point in his career to be like, a proper full-on action film, either a Rambo film, a Rocky film, or just a full-on, Cobra-type action film. They didn't really want a thoughtful thriller, really, and that's the way I've always seen this, but even at the time when I first watched this, I don't think I went to the cinema to see this. I don't remember going to the cinema anyway, but I remember the first time I saw this, and it would have been in the early 90s. Even at that stage in my life, maybe, very early 20s, I've always enjoyed this film. But saying that, I always generally quite enjoy, prison movies. If they're done properly, they can be really entertaining and interesting, and, the whole... everyone getting locked up, caged up. There's so many different stories you can do and stuff, and and I've always liked this film because of that. And I do think Stallone makes the character of Frank Leone quite appealing in a sense of he's very likable, but at the same time you could see him being pushed and pushed and pushed by Sonny Landham's character Chink, who you just want him to deck him. You want Leone to deck him, and he won't react. He's trying to make friends in this prison. They're building cars and all this kind of stuff in workshop, engine shop, whatever it is, and every turn, everything he tries, this warden played by Donald Sutherland he won't have it. He's intent on making Stallone's life hell, and his long-term plan is to never let him get out of this prison. He doesn't want him ever to be out, and he will do anything to make sure that doesn't happen, and he's brilliantly played by Donald Sutherland. I mean, Donald Sutherland is one of the all-time greats in my opinion anyway, but he just makes a fabulous villain in this film. You really, really dislike his character in this film. There's nothing about him that's likable, and he's played to absolute perfection by Donald Sutherland. And then, you've got some of these guards as well that are working that are just scumbags. You want them to get theirs comeuppance and stuff. And then there's kind of one good guard amongst them, and that's the John Amos character, who's like the head guard pretty much. He don't take no shit or anything from the prisoners, but he won't have abuse either at the same time, and it really tests his morals, the stuff that are going on. And then you've got all these other characters in the film. You know, you've got Tom Sizemore's character, and this, I believe this was either his first role or definitely one of his first roles. And you've got quite a lot of other recognisable faces in this film that he's building relationships with, Stallone. And I think, if I'm being honest, I think my least favourite part of this film is there's like a football game in like the prison yard. And it's, they try and build it up with this music, because I think it was Bill Conti did the music for this, and he was the same guy that did the Rocky music, as I'm sure you know. And they kind of build this football game up into something it's not, you know what I mean? And it's all played in mud, and you know, and it, for me, it just felt unnecessary, and it just, you know, didn't really work for me. So for me, that sequence felt a bit forced, but beyond that, I thought, you know, I couldn't really give you a great deal of faults for the rest of the film, because I think they really nailed the tone and the brutality of prison here. You know, the fact that it just feels just a horrible and unpleasant place to be. And it was actually filmed in a real prison as well. And many of the real life prisoners were like extras in the film, sort of thing. And I think some of them are even part of that football game. So many of them were like overly enthusiastic, should we say, to tackle Stallone in that. But apparently he and didn't use any body doubles, as well as nobody else did in that football match. I would imagine that makes sense. I mean, if you're surrounded by a lot of prisoners, you don't want, you know, your stunt double stepping in and taking the hits for you. You'd look all right, girly man, wouldn't you, in front of all the prisons? So that kind of makes sense. Yeah, I've just always had a real affection for this movie. I do think it's well made. John Flynn, though, the director, I'll be honest, it's not a name I've heard much of since this film. He did some stuff like Out for Justice. There's the Steven Seagal film, but he's not what you would call. He's not a director whose name rolls off the tongue. You know, you can't reel off much of his filmography. I thought he was probably, you know, it was quite a talented director, and he managed to kind of capture the characters in this film and deliver a fairly compelling watch. Certainly, in my opinion, anyway. And this, for me, has always kind of been right up there with, you know, one of the most underrated for Stallone's filmography. I think if he'd have made this, I don't know. I actually thinking about it. I don't know at what period in his career, if he'd have made this at a different time, it might have been received better. I think it is a film that's kind of warmed to audiences as the years have gone on. I think people, you know, look at this film and kind of think it's, you know, actually quite a decent Stallone film at the end of the day. It's a great finish to the film as well. The whole, you know, him pushing against the system where he's kind of given no choice, that he's got to kind of fight back. I love it, and the whole sequence at the end with shoving Donald Sutherland in like the electric chair was just great. It had me on the edge of my seat the first time I watched it, sort of thing, and you were just really hoping that it were kind of going to come out of this clean and get to be with his sweetheart, you know, his lady on the outside, Darlene Flugel character. So yeah, I mean, I really like Lock Up. If you've never seen it, if you're a fan of Stallone, or you know of Stallone, but you've not seen an awful lot of his films, certainly some of his films in his filmography that people kind of gloss over, in my opinion. When people think of Stallone, they don't generally think of this film. But it is definitely a curious film in his filmography that is a well-made film. It's well put together. It's a good watch, and I enjoy the character that Stallone plays in this film. So yeah, thanks for joining me, guys. I hope you enjoyed checking out this classic Stallone film. I will, of course, be back with plenty more reviews and content on the channel very, very soon.